brought you to Hoveland?
Well, my husband, I would say he is also from Iowa, but he moved up here because he loved the area and I was in love, so I had to follow him. So I came to Hoveland and I came to visit one time, came to visit a second time and never left, and we've been here ever since.
About 3 years ago, we were planting trees right along the river, and somebody noticed fish in the river, and there were steelheads that were 12 to 15 inches long swimming up the river. The water wasn't that deep, so they were in like a riffle, and their back fins were actually out of the water as they struggled up this shallow water.
Well, I've fished steelhead in the Flute Reed River for probably 20 years, primarily in April and May. And it has been, over that period of time, one of the better rivers, steelhead rivers on the North Shore, which are Lake Superior's migratory rainbow trout. Yeah, I guess over the years I've met some really interesting people along the river. There was one father and son that has fished the river for probably easily 50 years, probably talking the father's time, it's probably pushing more closer to 70 years that they've been coming there. Obviously, there's something there they like if they keep coming back year after year.
The Flute Reed became kind of part of our way of life, and what we love about it so much is that it connects so many people in this community together because it goes through so many people's property, and so it's kind of a connection piece between us and a lot of people.
I was looking at the lake one spring when we had a kind of a normal snowfall, so there was a lot of water in the river that as the snow melted, and it was turning all of Chicago Bay brown. And I wondered if anybody else was concerned about what it seemed to be doing to the lake. And so I called our Roger Hartle, who was then our local soil and water district representative, and he said, well, let's find out. So we put a poster up in the post office saying that we were going to meet one Saturday morning. There were about 20 people that showed up. So we decided at that meeting to form a watershed group. And the rest is history.
The problem that sediment causes for the fishery is primarily that it covers up spawning gravel. And trout, and I believe most cold water fish, the sort of fish that are going to live in a river like the Flute Reed, need clean gravel in order to spawn, or clean rock substrate. And when you have a heavy sediment load, you just always have that fine particles of clay settling in and among that gravel or over that gravel, and just makes it less productive for fish.
This is a living river, and we want to help clean it so that the sediment isn't hurting the river and hurting Lake Superior.
The concept of water is just such a connecting force, because the water that's sitting right here outside of our house could have come who knows where from, up in the mountains someplace way far away, and now it's here in front of our house, and then it's out in Lake Superior, and then from there it goes way out into the ocean, and then it ends up at my parents' house down in Florida. I mean, water is just such a cool connector of life forces and then of actual people.
The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency in 2001 did a multiple year, they called it a lake basin study. And they studied the whole North Shore and identified 10 rivers that were impacting Lake Superior the most in a negative way. And it's primarily all sediment coming down into the river. But a lot of this sediment is red clay, which naturally has a lot of phosphorus in it. And phosphorus it's a nutrient for algae. And so we're getting algae blooms in Lake Superior that according to the old timers, we never used to have. Right now we have this large Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grant, and we're working to stabilize some of these slumping red clay banks on the river that are contributing to the sediment, and we're also replacing some undersized culverts that are causing a lot of washout and erosion into the river.
My name's Dave Stark, and I am a water resource consultant working on river restoration projects and rainwater harvesting projects. And the Flute Reed Partnership is who I work for. I am the overall project coordinator for them, and they initiated the project. We wrote the grant for this. So after I left the county and became an independent consultant, I've been hired by them to coordinate the whole project. Yeah, these are called the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grants, and the grant proposal came out. It's got to been at least 3 years ago now, and it was an initiative basically to clean up areas around the Great Lakes. We had been doing some smaller projects on the Flute Reed River, working with the Flute Reed Partnership. Specifically, they had been doing a lot of tree planting projects, and we were also involved with monitoring the water quality. So as we did that, the testing for the water quality, like a lot of rivers on the North Shore, were showing high turbidity or high sediment input into the river. Having that water quality data, put it on the list, and then also made the river and the watershed available to go after some of these grant funds.
My name is Carrie Berg, and I'm the district manager of the Cook County Soil and Water. I started with working with the Flute Reed Partnership. They subcontracted our office to organize the engineering and designs and to select the projects that would best reduce the sediment on the Flute Reed. We had to select the project site, so we walked the entire Flute Reed River and we collected information the whole way along the river, the bank heights, we noted erosion, we did bank full measurements. Dave Stark, the GIS specialist, he helped make a map of the whole Flute Reed River based on all our information, which created it into a calculation. We were able to pick the priority banks based on that. The engineering team in Duluth and the technicians did the design plans, and I got all the permitting. It was a rigorous permitting process with the Army Corps and the county and the DNR, just due to fish restrictions. And then we bid out the project, and we had actually 5 people put in a bid, and 3 of them were local, so we love it when we get to work with local contractors. And Laboda Grading got the low bid, and they're currently working on the first bank project.
My name is Charlie Laboda, with Laboda Grading. We are road grading and excavation contractor. Today we got a excavator here with a hydraulic thumb. We're using that to install the tow wood structure. Yesterday were excavating a channel for that structure, put the footer logs in, which run parallel to the river, and we're now installing layers of brush and soil mixed together, packing that in and building up to the top of the structure. So we're using an excavator with a thumb, a skid steer with a grapple to move the brush around, dump trucks hauling the material out of the site.
My name is Keith Anderson. I'm an engineer for the Soil and Water Conservation District. Real brief description is we're using a tow wood, which is woody material at the toe of the bank, and sod mat at the floodplain elevation to remediate or stop the bank erosion in that location. Our role is to provide oversight and assistance so that our design gets placed on the landscape the way it's shown on the paper. So we've got a contractor, a very good contractor on site, but they're, they need assistance in actually applying our design in the detail with all the elevations and the positions of putting them in the tow-wood, the elevations, the cross sections of what the river is going to look like in the end product. So that's our main role on the site.
The tow-wood stabilization is basically taking large pieces of wood, large trees, and you set up a kind of a footer log, and then we're placing those large trees into the riverbank, basically trying to take the energy that typically would be going into the eroding bank and pulling it out. That tow-wood mat starts that way, and then there's also just growing vegetation that goes on top of that. So it does a couple different things. It's pushing the river away from the eroding bank, but you see in a lot of the pictures there are these kind of new creations of floodplains. So as you get up into those higher flows, you're beyond that 1.5-year interval for a higher flow, the river has a place to dissipate its energy. So the tow-wood pushes it away, gives it a place, a new floodplain. And so instead of coming in and trying to pull that riverbank back, which would, require a lot of material being moved and wouldn't really be solving that problem, we basically let that that slope find its natural place over time.
This work that they've been doing on the Flute Reed has been pretty controversial in Hovland. There's a lot of people who just are of the mindset that you just leave nature well enough alone, and I think they're worried that all the work that they're doing is maybe going to backfire in the end. And, in a way, I think that all the controversy is just the product of a people who really care about where they live and really care about the landmarks that surround them. So I think it kind of comes off as negative, but I think it's born out of just a love and a passion for Hovland and for the landscape.
I haven't worked on any tow-wood projects before. The engineers and technicians we work with in Duluth have. They've done some on the Knife River and I think a few in other counties, but this is the first time I've ever seen this built, and it's the first time any of our office staff, so we've been really excited about it. Just being through the whole planning process, and it's nice to try some more sort of green technology. It's nice to do engineering but not have it look so engineered. It'll hopefully look more natural and blend in with the environment.
Rock riprap, while halting the erosion in that particular location, does not do as good a job with creating or improving habitats, and then also spreading out the flood flows. The other thing is we're putting the sod mat at the floodplain elevation so that when the flood flows come up, they have an ability to spread out and further dissipate those forces at the toe of the bank. So the rock does a really good job of stopping the erosion, but you can get erosion at the flanks of the project. It tends to, in some cases, smooth up the bank and cause the erosion further downstream, pushing the problem further downstream. What we're doing is putting in these root wads, roughening up the bank, and consequently slowing the velocity right in the near bank area. Again, providing really good habitat, holding the bugs, which the fish like to eat the bugs, and also remediating the bank erosion at that point.
Yeah, this is a first-time thing for us. This is a new project. As far as I know, it's been done only once in Minnesota before. Definitely not done in our area before, and seems to be a pretty cool project. There's a lot more people on the site than we would normally be used to having here. We have worked with the local soil and water office before, so we know what to expect with them, but having Keith, the engineer, on site has helped a lot. He's able to check a lot of stuff for us while we're somewhat doing a design and build with him. We had the set of plans before, but having the engineer on site, we're able to change and make it fit the site a little better as we go. Dave Stark and The Flute Reed Partnership people have been here helping. It's really good having all these people on site working together.
The Flute Reed River in the future, I mean, is this one project going to reduce all the sediment and everything's going to be fixed on the Flute Reed? No, but I think through doing this work, involving the landowners, there's more than just the sediment benefits, but I think that there will be a noticeable reduction in the sediment loads to the river.